Right, this is Blowing Bubbles magazine. You're going to get a chance to win one. Well, not just on this video, actually, for another 4 videos after. We've got 5 of these to give away to people watching on this channel, another 15 to give away on the Patreon channel. I think I'll probably do a little Keep Me Uppy challenge or something like that. Guessed a number of times I'll keep the ball up. Not very many. 1. Probably. And I'll be giving 15 loads away. But somebody watching this now wins this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pick an article out of it, discuss it, give my view, and then what I'll do is you leave your comments underneath. Give me your opinion, the best opinion. I'll pop this in, I'll get your address. I'll announce the winner tomorrow, pop this in the post. Stick a Hammers Chat sticker on the envelope so you know it's from us. Bob's your uncle. Can't say fairer than that. If you don't know Blowing Bubbles magazine, it's got articles, ex-West Ham United employees, a columnist, Phil Parks, lots of stuff. It's a West Ham magazine. What more could you want? Pub talk, Georgie Paris, lots of stuff going on. If you'd like, you can subscribe. You can get it as a monthly subscription. You can click in the link below. You can go and view it online, back orders, all that sort of stuff. Give it a look, and let's have a look. Anyway, there was one that caught my mind. I mean, if you look at X's article there, it basically says, Moyes can help us improve, but it's not quite what we were sold. It's not the dream that we were sold, is basically what he's saying in there. I'm not going to read the whole article. I want you to do that. But there's one here which it says, the board talk a good game, but their actions give me little hope. And it's from Jim Kearns, and I think it's a really, really good article. So I think I'd like to deal with that subject today. Because in the article, Jim talks about where West Ham should have been and where West Ham could have been. And really, he goes on to talk about the Leicester model, if you like. Now, I think you could take that and you could take Wolves as another example. But I think Leicester's really good because despite a couple of League Cups under Martin O'Neill, you would not say Leicester were a big club. In fact, I think it's probably fair to say that they were, in size, comparable and even smaller than West Ham. So what has made Leicester rise to the top? Has it been a massive, massive influx of money? No, they've not bought their way to the top. They've not done a Sheikh Mansour or a Roman Abramovich. They've built a structure to the club. It's been steady. It's been incremental. They've got a guy in, I think it was Steve Walsh, possibly got in as their director of football, which I think was one of their first good moves. And gradually they started to get players in and started to scout players like Jamie Vardy, like Riyad Mahrez, like Drinkwater, like Kante. I mean, it's almost like these are household names now, aren't they? But I mean, they turned out to be very, very good players, very smart acquisitions, and they were brought in to a team and a framework and a coaching and structure that allowed them to flourish. They very much had a plan in mind. I think Leicester would probably be lying if they turned around and said our plan was to win the Premier League within 4 years of the owners taking over or anything like that. Of course, that's not the case. There was certainly an element of luck in their league win, but there's no doubt about it. They built a very, very good team, albeit they almost got relegated the season before. I'm not sure there'll be another story like it. But even if you take away that exceptional story of them winning the league, then they got some knockout stages in the Champions League the following season. Even if you take that story away, it's still a terrifically run football club. And at a time when we're really struggling and West Ham are announcing that we have just done £4 million worth of work to the training ground. We've got to one of our 2-3 training grounds, how many training grounds we've got. Whilst we're announcing £4 million worth of improvements, Leicester are just relentlessly carrying on with a £150 million training complex, which quite frankly looks like the Death Star, and it's outer worldly. It's just futuristic. It's a phenomenal building, a phenomenal complex, and within the confines of that, they've got all the scouting system that West Ham can only dream of. They've got the data analytics centre, they've got all that stuff. But as a player, if you were to go into that environment, you'd think, I want to sign for this club because everything is taken care of. I say a canteen. I was going to say canteen. Leicester don't have a canteen in that place. Well, they've probably got what was akin to a 5-star restaurant. Accommodation on site as well, and your every need is catered for in terms of the hydrotherapy, in terms of the physiotherapy, in terms of the medical science. There is a specialist department and a specialist room for everything. You certainly don't get the impression, if you go back and look at the Gary Lewin video, that Gio did when Gio interviewed him. Excellent video over on the main channel. Gary Lewin alluded to a few things in that West Ham have maybe not invested as well as they should have done, let's say, in the physiotherapy department. You don't get the impression that with Leicester City that there's sort of one massage table in the middle of the dressing room with a geezer there with a goose foot on his hand. Come on, fellas, who's next for a rub? That's never a good mime, is it, that one? You get the impression they've probably got table up the table of these things and masseuses. I'm obsessed with a massage, aren't I? You know, physiotherapists, just specialists in every single department. And what that is that's indicative of the way they're doing everything else. And then they lose these players. They lose Drinkwater, they lose Kante, and they held on to Jamie Vardy. But Harry Kane, the way they do business, Harry Kane is 80 million. That's it. If you want, Harry Kane, Harry Maguire. Sorry, I wish I had Harry Kane. Harry Maguire's 80 million. If you want him, that's what he's going to cost you. Not a penny less. So actually, when you go and deal with them, you're thinking, actually, this is not a club that can be haggled with. It's not a club that can be bartered with. I love the way they just went out. And they went out and they got Ricardo Pereira at right back. I thought for some time this is one of the best right backs around. They went and got him 3 seasons ago. 17 million for a fullback. That is not mucking around. Can you honestly see West Ham paying 17 million for a fullback? No. Absolutely not. But again, the financial model would suggest that we should be able to. This is why we move. It's why we moved to a new stadium, right? We're a bigger club than Leicester City, or at least we should be. Are we now? No, probably not. Look at the recruitment of their manager. Look at what they did. I don't mean the Ranieri situation, because again, I think that was sort of a perfect storm. I think Ranieri did tremendously well. It was clearly a lovely man. I'm not saying he's not a talented manager. I think he'd done really well with Chelsea, didn't he? Got Chelsea second in the Premier League, maybe won a cup or two, won some cups in Italy. Not a crap manager, don't get me wrong. But he was in the right place at the right time. And he managed to cajole some wonderfully talented players like Mahrez, who possibly was the only player better, I thought, in the league than Dimitri Payet in that season. He managed to make the sum of their parts all come together and produce a title-winning team within a framework of sort of counter-attacking football, which really, really worked for them. But I mean, after that, I mean, for them to get the next managerial appointment they got wrong, but then to look and think, Brendan Rodgers, we're going to get him. It's somebody else with a philosophy. And it's just something West Ham don't do. And yes, look, when I talk about David Moyes and I say I'm happy with David Moyes to continue, I am because I think he deserves it. I am because I quantify that statement by saying, well, David Moyes, it was either David Moyes or Chris Hughton. Nobody else wanted the job. I talk about us going out, maybe getting Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers would take one look at West Ham and say, actually, I don't want to come. Why? For all the reasons I've just said. If you're going to go to a manager and say, we want you to work for us, and one of you has got some talented players, and maybe even a little bit of money for some talented players, and the other one has got that, but possibly a little bit better, the ability to pay a little bit higher, but also this vision. Look at our new training complex. Look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing to the stadium. The owner, I mean, sadly passed away. You know, absolutely terrible circumstance in a game, ironically, against West Ham. But the family continue. They have pledged their allegiance to the club. What they do in the community is sensational. They really are a very, very well-run club. All the local charities are taken care of. It's slipstream, it's slick, and it's a very, very good club. And really, Leicester City is everything that West Ham aspire to be and what West Ham should be. And now more than ever, after the fallout of coronavirus and everything else, you're really looking at the benefits of that planning, of that structure that went into place before all of this kicked off. Because now, West Ham, whilst a lot of clubs are treading water, it almost looks like West Ham are struggling not to drown. Where you get the feeling that Leicester City, to keep on the swimming analogy, are doing breaststroke. Probably could have chosen a better one than that. Front crawling their way to improvement. Actually, I think the restart and the lockdown probably hurt Leicester City more than most. I think they probably would have got a top 4 place quite comfortably without Without that, I think the stop hindered them. But I do think they've got a bright future. I do think good players are going to come in, are going to be signed, and they have good players that come through. Chilwell, for an example, I don't know whether they got him from somewhere else or he came through their academy, but he was a young player. Got his debut with Leicester City, came through, and he looks every inch a very, very good left back. What's it going to cost you to get Ben Chilwell? Well, I'll tell you what, West Ham are looking for a left back. We ain't going to get Ben Chilwell. If you ain't got 70 million, whatever, something like that, you probably ain't going to get him. And what are West Ham doing? Well, we're looking around at the moment, scratching around, not quite being able to afford a couple of million for a fullback from Wigan who is skint and an administration. I don't firmly, I jest on that. I don't particularly think we wanted that player, by the way. But you see, it highlights the contrast between the two. We may or may not be able to afford a left-back from Brentford. That's how far we come. And the fact of the matter is, when you are in a 60,000-seat stadium, when you've moved from your home, when you have billionaire owners, when you have the 10-point plan and the pledge that we actually had to move the club forwards, you should be able to buy a player from Brentford, okay? And I say Brentford, I say a mocking tone, Brentford. I don't look down on Brentford with disgust. I think Brentford are better run than West Ham, by the way. Let's get that straight. I'm not looking down on them. In many respects, I'm looking up at them. But I just mean to make the point. If we weren't able to, from moving and from having rich owners and this, that, and the other, to buy a player from Brentford, what was the point? What was the point? Why we really should be challenging to purchase players like Leicester did. I think Ricardo Pereira came from Porto. I might be wrong. 17 million. Why can't we go to Porto and buy a fullback for 17 million? Why aren't we looking to do that? Because I think that's exactly the sort of thing that we should be looking to do. Look at the way they went and snapped up James Maddison. I don't regret that now, do they? They just have a clearer way of doing it. Now, I hope things are looking better. I hope things for West Ham, when you look at the acquisition of players like Jared Bowen, you look at Souček, okay, it looks like there's something there. These are players that show some promise. These are players that, are good, not show some promise. They've hit the ground running. And it maybe shows that we're looking to bring players in with more of a structure. Certainly more of a structure to that than the signing of Felipe Anderson, for instance, would be a good example. We throw a lot of money at these things, and Anderson's a good case in point, and and Sebastian Haller is another good example. And I wouldn't claim to have an encyclopedic enough knowledge of Leicester to say that they don't waste money, but certainly the impression is there that we don't. We're not quite as efficient as them. The old saying goes, "A fool and his money are easily parted." And I look at that sometimes. I think, yeah, well, that maybe sums West Ham up to one extent or another. Anyway, there you go. Those are my thoughts on what I thought was a very, very good article. Those not the article. Those are my thoughts on it. The article itself is in David's fantastic Blowing Bubbles magazine. Do us a favour, have a little look. Click on the link below. You can actually go on the website and you can read a lot of the back stuff for free, by the way. For the latest articles, you've got to subscribe either to their website, or you can get this lovely thing sent through the post every month. It's a good article. I read it when I'm on the toilet. Truth be known. Not this one. This is a clean copy. And the one I sent you will be sent directly. It won't have gone with me to the toilet. That's put a lot of people off. There's a lot of people thinking, I don't want to write a comment. Who wants a copy of a magazine that someone's wiped their bum with? Nobody does. This one, minty fresh. But just in case, you can't be too. Whew. Fresh waters. This video is sponsored by Airwick, for it's not. Fresh waters essential oils. I don't think you're meant to get it on the back of your throat. Anyway, there you go. Breaking news. Leicester City are better than West Ham United.